Wanna go? Wow. What? Wanna go? What the?
So the gold is gone from Fort Knox, trillions disappearing from major financial institutions, and so you have to say, where can it go? Because you can't steal that much and hide it. You cannot launder $1 trillion. That's a physical impossibility. Now, if you are the government and you are building hundreds of underground facilities, which is going on, and you are assisting the Russians to build 5,000 of them underground, and the other nations of the world, you're assisting with our tax dollars to build underground facilities, and they are putting in multi-millions of dollars into weapons to shoot rioters on the street. They're spending all this money cutting deals with Russia to bring over extra people to assist in the time of need.
They're training 24/7 for open war against us. It's high treason.
Okay, now, so I had to sit back and I said, well, wait a minute, what's going on? So, of course, then with just a little more inquiry, a little more snooping, and a few more people coming to you from under the table, the bottom line is simply this. They are fully anticipating a catastrophic celestial impact. That's the terminology they used when they were cutting the deal with the Russians to bring assistance over here when needed for FEMA, for the federal emergency. They are anticipating a celestial impact. What it is, they had all of a sudden discovered, and it was let's put it this way, it was a vague possibility a while back that there was going to be, that this 10th planet, the Nibiru, Planet X, whatever you want to call it, was potentially way out there and it's going to come back and make a circle through. All right, well, that was kind of close to Earth. And that was kind of a maybe possibility kind of a thing. But someplace around 1983, and it was verified by a Central Intelligence person, friend of mine out of Washington, at such a high level that this particular agent used to write speeches for Reagan and Bill Casey, with Bill Casey for a long time, head of the CIA. Anyhow, the bottom line was that about 83 sometime in that period of time, they had some kind of a confirmation that, hey, this thing is coming back, and it's going to take a few years. It might take 20 years or so, but it absolutely will be coming back. And they started at that point in time expanding the underground facilities and all of that. And it's got nothing to do with nuclear or anything. What it has to do in reality, all of this, what irritates me more than anything is they have kept all this totally secret from the general public. They've lied and covered up about it and said, oh, no, it was this, that, and the other thing. But they have taken every single possible dollar bill and gold bar that they can, and it is gone. It's out of here. It has either been directly applied to the construction of these hideout survival facilities for the limited few.
And by the way, it's been coming out in the news. What are these giant concrete fortresses in the Ozarks and other areas? And then it turns out there's bases under them, and they're really like an underground train station, above ground terminal. That's what I've been told by people involved in the construction.
Oh, that particular construction you're talking about, by 72,000 square feet, it's registered as a private party home. The guy's a Central Intelligence operative and a genius that has put together many of the spy electronic operations that are used by our military. That's the fella, his name's Stephen Huff. He's the fellow that owns this particular large construction. It is the 4th largest house in the United States. It makes Bill Gates' place look like an outhouse.
Well, the truth is he was given the NSA satellite patents on a bunch of stuff to be given tens of billions, but he's really just the front for a government operations, my information.
Most likely that's exactly the situation. Now, where his home is located, which is over top of this multi-thousand miles of tunnels under the ground, which I was told about in 95. I got some pictures of it in 95, didn't believe it. and have been pursuing it ever since. It's absolutely a reality. The tunnels, there's so many tunnels under the United States with these connecting things. It's like a spider web of tunnels beneath the ground. Now, here's the bottom line. They've taken all of this money, every cent that belongs to the United States taxpayers. They totally kept it secret. They are absolutely awaiting the incoming of this huge 10th planet is what it amounts to be. And it's in this gigantic, huge orbital configuration. Takes it like 3,000 years to come around.
And it's in the Kuiper Belt. Well, then what about all the false starts where they said it was going to come a decade ago and all that?
No, well, I can't account for all of that. I know some of it's misinterpretation of different things.
The point is that I have seen their concern about that, but that really they were going to use space-based weapon systems. The cover would be a defensive system. And I know the U.S. and Russia have had meetings at the UN. I'm just backing up what Fletcher's saying. And they claim they're building underground bases in COG, that's continuity of government systems, for comets, asteroids. I think the term Planet X has become more of a archetype of all this debris. We know there's hundreds of planetoid-sized spheres, moon size and smaller, out in the Kuiper Belt that they've now picked up with radio telescopes. And a lot of them supposedly have these elliptical orbits and do come through. And the ancients all recorded these things coming close, and, then you get mountains shooting up 1,000 feet in the air and lava spraying out. Previously, they thought every 10 million years or something, a big asteroid hit the Earth. We now know they're thinking it's every couple hundred. And so they think they're on time to have this. I think Planet X, because I heard about it in 99, 2003. I always thought it was baloney, that it was going to hit us. And, of course, Bob didn't say it was going to hit us then. My point is kind of an excuse for COG. I'm not disagreeing with you that they're concerned about it, Bob. I just think the CIA guy, high level, that was telling you this might have been putting a false story on you, partially false, or he may have been fed it himself. Do you get my point I'm making?
Yeah, but that's not all right. But you don't even have we just scratched surface. You can't imagine how much real statistics are on this. All right. First off, the solar flare situation. All right, it's been acknowledged by NASA. Not that this is an 11-year cycle. The solar flares have been the most outrageous they have been in 1,000 years. That's solar flares. That's being affected already by Nibiru, by Planet X. Planet X is estimated to be 5 times the size of Earth. James Woolsey, head of the CIA, been out a couple of years. A few months ago, he said, there is no question in our mind that we will have a solar flare with the potential, or several of them, the potential to shut down all electronics on either the Earth or half of the globe.
That's right. Nibiru is supposed to be bigger than Jupiter, correct?
It's 5 times the size of Earth. It's probably the size of Jupiter.
I think Jupiter's like 300 times.
The point is, it will pass around, it will come close, go around the sun, and we will run through the tail of this thing, which has like 4,000 miles of garbage. So we have so many meteorites and potential small pieces of junk hitting us. Why have we have already had more meteorites than we usually do in 5 years in the world in the last 2 years. That's also already being affected by Nibiru. Coming back in.
Wait a minute. I got to stop you right now, and my wife is a witness to this, and I just entered Twilight Zone. I was down at the beach at just some funky condominiums we go and rent for 2 or 3 days to go fishing down in Port Aransas, and a guy comes and knocks on my door and he said he was going to email it to Do. Go see if he emailed it to Do. Because I gave him his email because I always miss stuff. I never check mine. The point is, I might as well not even have email. He comes and knocks on my door and says, I want to send you these photos that I took. And he was bringing up Planet X to me, and he was saying, look at this. This was taken in Austin a week ago. It's funny I ran into you here. I thought it was really weird. and he was showing me photos of in broad daylight, and it wasn't a sun flare because he showed me video, and I could see it from behind the tree, so it wasn't a sun flare, but that could be anything. I mean, that could be a satellite. Who knows?
That's correct. The bottom line is we have pictures of it, particularly stuff taken from the southern Antarctic, the weather center down there. They've got pictures from down there. There's pictures from all over the world, progressively, et cetera, et cetera. There's no question about that. Google Space, about 1 year ago, when it was posted out by somebody that was an astronomer, said go to this on Google Space, and you can find it. The following day, they literally blacked it out the size of a postcard so that you couldn't even see it. They actually intentionally eliminated it from people being able to see it. No, it exists, period. I have to go on with this. The lady that's been in charge of the Homeland Security for so long, all right? She just quit a little while back. What's her name? Janet Napolitano. She said the same thing that Woolsey said, that it is absolutely positive we are going to get solar flares that will potentially shut down every single electronic device on either the entire Earth or half of the Earth. The other gentleman that used to be in charge of what they call that psychic thing with the CIA for so long, the viewers, his name was Major Ed Dames. He came out and said the same thing, that they had projected that, in fact, we were going to get these solar flares. Now, the flares are ahead of the possibility of Nibiru coming close. If the solar flares hit us, I want everybody to understand this. If we get a solar flare equal to one that we already got in 1895, when we didn't have a lot of electricity, if we get a solar flare today, it'll put every single mechanism on Earth null and void. We will not have any communication. We will have no lights. We will have no food sources. We'll have no fuel, no method of delivery.
Well, let me say this: it may not be this giant gas giant or this imploded sun, as people have surmised this Planet X or Nibiru is, that the ancients called it. But here's Huffington Post Science: Comet Ison 2013 may be among brightest ever seen, astronomers say, and they go on to say that its tail may hit us, but it's nothing to worry about. I do know they've been in the news saying they believe there's a 100+ year cycle and that it will fry all our communications. Now, I don't know if that's government fear-mongering, but you're right. Napolitano has come out and said that. Are you saying they're trying to get people ready for something?
Well, here's the bottom line. Again, they've set themselves up. Like I said, they've taken every single dollar they could humanly take. They are either hiding some of the gold for later potential use underground. They're building the undergrounds to hide out for the limited few. Now, what they're going to do is they have to have martial law before this hits the fan, before it looks like we're going to be completely electronically shut down, and also before, if the possibility of this huge planet swinging close by once more, which it theoretically does every 3,000 years. Now, they have to have some excuse. So some of the junk that we're seeing going on, the crazy, radical, challenging Syria and pushing North Korea and all these other things that potentially, any one of which they can cultivate far enough along to where they can declare martial law, and it has to be done before the planet hits the fan, okay? It has to be done. Now, they would not be doing all of this. They've interrupted an awful lot of what we would call the New World Order movement. They've interrupted an awful lot, all of a sudden, and gotten very seriously with going underground and stealing the money. All right, they wouldn't do that if they weren't absolutely positive that the planet was going to hit the fan. Now, I have unbelievable scientific backup on this planet X. Not only do we have great photographs of it now that we have the equipment to do it pretty good, which even includes some what we would call amateur astronomers, but we have statements, etc., and going way, way back, and corresponding information. But here's one, again, there's something that I discovered just because I got into this thing and was wondering if this was really possible. The planets in our entire solar system have started heating up, temperature increases, and their orbits are wiggling. They are being affected from Pluto out. In other words, from Pluto coming inwards, but they're heating up from Pluto coming inwards. They are not being heated up by the sun. And this is a scientific fact that's been going on. All of the surface atmosphere, the chemical structure, and the heat, the temperature of all of our planets started a year or so ago going up and started being affected by some body out there beyond Pluto. And that is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Nibiru, and we're talking about something that swings through here every 3,600 years. And when it comes close to the Earth, it's going to clean it off like Noah's flood, because that was one of the passes of Nibiru. That was Noah's floods. And it's going to do a number, and it'll do a number on us ahead of actually being close enough to physically do it with its gravitational.
And when do you think this is going to happen?
Sometime beginning yesterday and probably the first of next year. I don't think, according to the ancient writings from the Himalayas, from the monks up on the top of the hills in the Himalayas, they talked about 2015. I'm saying sometime between, and the reason I say yesterday, because 5 days ago was some of the contracts that the government had put out. For example, for 2,700 riot-controlled trucks and Jeep tanks, 2,700 of them were to be finished and delivered 5 days ago. I'm assuming that they have been.
Bob Fletcher, investigations.com. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Folks, I like Bob, and he put out a lot of good info on Iran-Contra. Everything he's talking about, we pulled up the article where $9 trillion missing from the Federal Reserve. You know, Newsmax with their testimony. In fact, I was reminded of that by him. I mean, 99% of what he's saying I can document. Then he goes off into this stuff, and I believe him.
What? Wow. What?